Hi Sarah, so I just want to make you a quick little video basically giving you feedback on what you have so far. So the first thing I want to let you know is that I created another Google Doc. The name of it right now is Dangerous Dental Trends ebook written draft. Now, for right now, the first thing I want you to do is only focus on trend 1. Don't move on to trend 2 yet. Just do diminishing employee production. As you can see, I went ahead right here and I wrote you brief instructions. So as of right now, this topic does not have an introduction. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to give you feedback. And then once you've done all the editing for this section, then you need to go back and write your introduction last. And it should include an overview of the most recent topics and reasons why this trend in particular is important. But before you do this, edit the paper like I said. Also, in the title, I wrote written draft. So what you should begin doing is actually taking out all of the headings so that it actually is written like a paper. Your outline should stay in the other document, but these headings don't need to be here. For instance, you list tracking employees' performance. Take these out and then make sure that what you have flows as it is. Now I'm back on this page because I want to make sure that everything you have within the first trend is where it's supposed to be. For instance, I just highlighted the section right here. It's about patients who feel they were not treated right by the staff. So if a patient goes to the dentist office and they don't feel like they were treated nicely by someone and they do not return because of this, this is a customer service issue, which is why I highlighted it. You need to take this out here and move it to section 2. Then right after you say this, you talk about solutions. So again, Sarah, the most important part of the ebook is basically establishing why it's important and how it happens. I don't want you to just jump right into solutions. This is the most important part of the ebook. So when you propose these solutions right here, and then just list a couple of random ones, this honestly, I'm not quite sure where it should be put right now, but this is way too soon. You need to move this down further because you can't just jump right into these solutions. Continuing down your outline, I'm just going to read through it. So employees work an average of 5 hours daily, but are they productive for the hours worked? I think this is supposed to be a question. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to change it to a question mark because without a question mark, it really doesn't make sense. You'd also need to put a comma here. Companies which have realized this allocate resources focusing on employee performance. Okay, so what resources? You need to be very clear in identifying what you mean. And also, I just have a very general tip for you. Try to avoid this. Specifically state instead of this what you mean. You could say this research is from a survey by Deloitte. Otherwise, this is very vague, and we want to be as specific and have as high quality writing as possible. So modern technology doesn't need the in front of it. Modern technology has made it possible to monitor employee productivity, but again, I think this is supposed to be a question because it doesn't make sense without a question mark. But how do you monitor and micromanage employees? So all of this information is good, but again, literally everything you have right here, from monitor employee productivity to increase employee productivity with management, increasing productivity by doing these things, monitoring employees with open DNS, recruitment procedures, employee presenteeism. Okay, so all of these are solutions. And like I said right here with this comment, we can't have the solutions first. So you could leave this all right here, but this section does not have nearly enough content. So you need to add, basically talk about why is diminishing employee productivity bad. So for me, I would focus on this right here. Unproductive and inefficient employees cost a practice up to 10 times their actual salary. So if I'm a dentist and I'm reading this and you give me actual numbers, then I'm going to realize that what you're saying is important. I need to listen to you. And if I don't, the consequence is me losing $300,000, which is what the source says. So focus more on the numbers, especially in this first part, because you have to develop it before you get into these solutions. So scrolling down here, I actually think that employee presenteeism, this should be one of the first things you talk about, because this is you defining a term, and before you just start giving solutions, you need to fully define the situation. So I'm going to cut this and insert it right here. And the letters are going to be off right now, but that's okay because you're moving this into the other document anyways. Oh, and back in this section, so employee presenteeism. You say that it's the opposite of absenteeism, but when I was reading through the work, maybe I missed it, but I never saw you define absenteeism. So what is this? I'm a little bit confused, and assume that your reader knows nothing. Define this term. You do a really good job defining presenteeism and how it's caused. And it's okay for the solution to logically follow here, but again, we just want to basically define the situation about diminishing employer productivity before we get into those solutions. So I understand that we definitely did give you a lot of work and just a very vague plan at first. So now what I want to work with you to accomplish is basically turning this outline, which is very choppy, into a book. So if you're struggling to actually put this into a written document, please tell me. It is very, there are a lot of subtopics, so I understand that it can be confusing, but we want to make sure that writing this ebook is something that you are able to do, and if you're not, just please communicate with me, because there is a lot going on right here. And if you see something and you think, hey, maybe it doesn't fit in this section, then it probably doesn't. I understand that, you know, things with production and productivity are and can be very closely related to sales and customer service training. So that's why right now I'm trying to break it down as simply as I can. So just focus on writing topic 1 and moving it into this written draft right here. Real quick, I'm going to pull up an ebook for you. This ebook isn't necessarily the best model, but what I want to show you is that, you know, it's not written like an outline. It has a little bit of content. It is okay to put some bullet points as long as they're in your own words, but if there's a list of things that you want to point out, you can make that list and then underneath it go into detail about what each one means. if we scroll down again, it's okay to have short paragraphs. Just don't be repetitive, and make sure that the information logically is flowing. Bullet points are good. Just have a lot of written content. Take out these titles in this draft right here, and just please try to get me an actual sample of an ebook that is ready to be published for Trend 1. Again, don't worry about length. Just make sure it makes sense and that it's clear, and that, number one, that diminishing employee production is actually a problem. Prove it to me, so that if you can prove it to me, you can prove it to dentists. And once you finish editing all this information, then write an introduction that summarizes everything. If you need a little bit of help with this, excuse me, go ahead and ask me, but just focus on cutting this content down so that everything flows accordingly. And give me feedback. Let me know, what are your questions? How can I help you? What do you need? Or if you're good, just go ahead and get started writing. Okay, thank you for your time, and I will be talking to you on Skype soon. Okay, bye-bye.